Hello, Marky here, and welcome back to another bloody good episode of r/relationship advice stories from Reddit, with your host, of course, Marky. Now, if you guys love this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know exactly when I upload every single day. And with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie. Let's get into it. Cheers. Posted by user actualprogram7449, titled, Am I the asshole here for still not forgiving my fiancé? So, I'm 28 female and my fiancé is 32 male. We've been together for 4 years. So, for some context, he has one child who he had at 16. She lives with my fiancé. After he had her, at 20, he got a vasectomy as he didn't want any more kids. I never really wanted kids. My mindset was if I have one, I have one, and if I don't, I don't. So, I got pregnant. I told him and he was pissed as he said that I cheated on him. He threw me out that same day. I was so sad and lonely. I was able to stay with my mother as she believed me. I lost a lot of my friends and got a bad reputation at work to now I work from home. My mum was able to talk him into doing a DNA test at 18 weeks. He was the father. He was begging me to take him back and go live with him again and let him make it up to me. He's been very well in doing that. He set up a whole nursery and goes to every doctor's appointment, everything. I really want to forgive him. I really do, as he seems like he will make a good father, and his daughter is so excited for her little sister, and she just wants to plan. All I do is just remember how when I had my morning sickness, my mother took care of me, not him. How when I needed to go to the hospital, my mother took me, not him. And he didn't even come to see me. I don't know. I've been breaking down so much because of this. I just don't know if I should forgive him and try to put it past us. My best friend said that I should just let the past be the past and focus on the baby, while my mother thinks that we should just break up if I can't forgive him. So am I the asshole here for not forgiving him? In the comments, NoMechanic3048 says, Is he telling everyone that his vasectomy failed and he's the father? Are people apologizing for accusing you of cheating? If not, I wouldn't move forward yet. Yes, the man needs to take an apology tour. Sounds like the falling out was very public. I will only consider him back in my life if he tells the truth to everyone and be just as public about it as the falling out was. Otherwise, what's the point when this man helped destroy your public image and self-esteem? I understand why he thought OP cheated. After all, vasectomies are supposed to be permanent, but I also understand that occasionally they can fail. He could have handled this situation completely differently. He could have asked for a paternity test. He could have kept his mouth silent on this matter until the results were in. He owes OP a public apology. As publicly as he screamed cheater, he should scream just as publicly about how he was wrong and his swimmers still work, and he has the DNA test to prove it. If I were him, I would have immediately scheduled an appointment with a doctor to confirm that I was still sterile. I assume he never did that in the entire time before the paternity test? And OP says, no, he did not. If you feel like you can move past it, then go to counseling together, but you don't have to move past it. Do a survey. Ask anyone you know who's had a vasectomy what they were told about the risk of impregnation despite the surgery. The one thing every guy knows is that pregnancy is still a very real possibility in spite of the snip. Nothing is foolproof. The fact that your ex wouldn't believe his long-term fiancé and needed proof from a third party that you were telling the truth is stupefying. This man didn't first and foremost care for you or your baby's safety. His best solution to this situation was to kick you to the streets and end the relationship within a few hours. You were definitely not the asshole. Your ex-fiancé's mental or emotional health issues are his to deal with in his own time. Right now, you've had to make the decision to become a parent alone and are expectant as a single parent. $100 says he's putting up a performance to not look like the bad guy to everyone involved, hence the good dad vibe that he's just working hard to give. You are safer with your mom, and I'd suggest you figure things out on your own and make arrangements for him to provide support for his child. This is all about what you're able to forgive. Do not take into account anything else, because if you don't let this go, it'll ruin the relationship in the long run anyway. He could have easily just asked for a paternity test or got his sperm counted, because vasectomies are not 100%. Instead, he chose the worst possible option, and you had to suffer because of it. If he would have never gotten the test, you would still be with your mother and have a bad reputation. This also shows you that in big conflict, he has no issues reacting to the highest degree. Yeah, I wonder if this is one of their biggest fights or if this is one of their only fights in this relationship, because that last sentence resonates so hard. This shows you that in a big conflict, he has no issues reacting to the highest degree. Has he done this before and you shrugged it off, OP, and was like, I'm sure when bigger, more important issues come up, he's not going to do the same thing. He was simply saying it in jest. This will not escalate, I'm certain of it. As to your question, are you the asshole for not forgiving your fiancé? I don't think you are. I think this situation happening at all was unlikely, because why did he agree to the paternity test after 18 weeks? What made him change his mind? Why now? Why not from the get-go? Why didn't you trust me initially? Would you have changed your mind if you didn't do the paternity test, or would I still be filth to you? Your love bombing, groveling, and all of that is just smokescreen in my eyes, because I don't trust you anymore, and I don't think I should trust you again after this. And yeah, absolutely, you can make these situations work. I understand that. Living in the real world means compromising and doing things for your partner that dickheads in Reddit wouldn't do because they're one-track minded. I get that. But this is a genuine fork in the road kind of situation. And if it was me at the wheel of the car there, I wouldn't forgive him for that one, because what is wrong with you? Even if he was going to do an apology tour, I don't think that makes up for the 18 weeks of hurt and damage that he's done to your life and your reputation. And now, on to the updates. So I'm going to address some of the main questions. Some of them was, how did he tell your friends? And that was because he had their information due to us planning a wedding, and some of them were mutual. The second question I got, which someone did text me about, was, what did my stepdaughter say? For her, it was confusing, as she had her dad telling her that I cheated. So she mainly believed him, as that's her dad. Some of you asked how many weeks I was, and I'm 27 weeks with a baby girl. Also, a lot of people ask, do I live there with him? And it's a no. I live with my mother, but I stayed at his house some nights. So to the updates. I had a talk with him, and to summarize it, I told him that I do understand why he was mad and upset, and to a certain extent had kicked me out, but I told him what hurt is that he didn't even give me a chance to explain, and you were certain that I cheated on you, and then you told people without solid proof that I did cheat. We agreed that for now we will not be together, and maybe later in life we'll be, but that we could date or see whoever we wanted for now. I also gave him his ring back. We did agree to keep this out of court for now, as I don't want or need his money. I talked to his daughter and told her that she could see her sibling when she wanted to as well, as long as she at least texted me the day of, or early the day of. So that's about it. If there are any more questions, I'll try to answer them in the comments. In the comments, Leave It to the Fates says, as a lawyer, take it to court. You need a legal arrangement of how things are going to work. Please trust me. I've seen so many cases where we decided to not go down the legal routes, and I cannot emphasize how badly most of them went, especially if new partners are introduced. You may not want or need his money, but your child deserves it. Put it all away in a college fund or first house fund if you want, but get legal child support sorted before the baby arrives. Cooperation can quickly turn to manipulation, distrust, and abuse. Your former partner has already shown you how he behaves when he thinks that you have wronged him, even though he had no proof. He's shown you that he cannot be trusted. Please believe him. Those sterility checks after a vasectomy should not be considered optional under any circumstance, and let this be proof. Things might not take properly, so always listen to your doctors and ask if you're unsure. You don't eat custard if you don't know your eggs are cooked properly, so you shouldn't be bathing anyone's eggs in your custard if you're not certain either. Honestly, it should be checked regularly anyway. There are cases of them reversing themselves / the vas deferens healing back together. Rare, but possible. To put it simply, life, finds a way. My son is the result of a vas deferens self-repair. Husband did the sterility check, several years later, ta-da, a baby. My husband never questioned my loyalty, to my knowledge, and defended me to people who said that I had been unfaithful. My son was the result of both a failed vasectomy and a failed IUD. It wasn't placed correctly. We love him, but man, were we surprised. Yep, I have 2 younger brothers, 11 months apart, post my dad's vasectomy. I know the surgery is different more recently and has less chance of a self-repair, but it definitely happened as I worked with a lady who was shocked as hell to be pregnant in her 40s with 2 teen kids. Puttasonda says, "He tossed me out of my ass and slandered me to everyone I know, but I'm sure our informal agreement will be fine. He doesn't need to support the child that he also abandoned." Why do people do this? Pride. It's about them. On some level, I get the sentiment. This is my kid and my responsibility, and I will care for them. When you've been treated like shit and your child has been abandoned, it might even feel empowering to take this approach. But it's short-sighted. It assumes the father's attitude will never change, that your financial situation will never change. It lets crappy fathers off the hook. Even if you don't need child support, that could be a college fund or a house down payment later on, or an emergency fund right now. It's just blabbering, sorry. I was one of these kids, and watching my mother struggle while my piece of shit father flounced away was formative. I am 100% with leave it to the fates. I hate when someone says they don't want their partner's money when it's not to fulfill a want, but to better raise the child. College funds, but also school trips, summer camps, etc. Of course, it's a different story if the partner is abusive or the mum is super rich, but a lot of posts are just like this one. And I can't even tell you how many times I've seen a dad, even with court-mandated child support, stop paying or wanting to pay less because they start dating again and the new girlfriend thinks that they should be spending the money on her. Even more if they have a new kid. 100% this. It's about the child and raising the child in the best environment possible. There is nothing wrong with coming to an agreement and getting it in writing. There is no telling what your financial situation will be like in 5, 7, or even 10 years down the road. People lose jobs, have unexpected expenses, etc. It's for the protection in the future. Dad has already exhibited emotionally extreme behavior and major decision-making without considering all of the facts. This would prevent him from doing so and putting OP in a financial mess. And absolutely, I agree with that one. You are stupid if you don't go and get this in writing and force him to legally support the child. Oh my god, do not do that to a child. You are just giving them an escape card to be like, well, it's not in writing. I don't have to give child support and I can just disappear now and you can't do anything about it. This is bad decision making on par with that one woman in Texas who had signed in writing that if her and her husband break up, that she can't come at him for any money or anything in the future. She doesn't get any alimony, nothing. She's just broken up with her husband. He can do whatever he wants, and she's like, what, late 50s? No job, no experience, no nothing? To me, it is very much akin to that situation, and do not let these dickheads take advantage of you. It is not worth it. Our next post is by user, not using my main for sure, titled, "Am I wrong for finding comfort in my late wife's twin sister?" My wife passed away in a horrific car accident 8 months ago, leaving myself and our 3-year-old daughter behind. I was far too depressed to do anything, much less care for my daughter properly, so my sister-in-law, her twin sister, essentially moved in to help out. While sobbing about my wife's death together, one thing led to another, and we ended up having sex. After the first time, we both felt nauseated with guilt, but soon came to realize that it was helping both of us cope. She's so much like my wife that when I'm with her, I'm able to kind of forget what happened. It's temporary relief, but relief nonetheless. She grew to believe that she was doing a good thing by helping me cope and be a better father to my daughter. It's been a regular thing up until now. I feel obviously conflicted about it. No one can know what's going on, as it might tear our family apart, but it's helped me to not off myself, and I have been a much better father/member of society since we began. I don't know if I'm prepared to stop. Help me see things objectively. How effed up is this? Edit, I didn't specify it the first time we slept together was a month after her passing. Yes, it was very sick in hindsight, and we both regretted it deeply. It didn't happen again for another 2 months, and then continuously until today. In the comments, OKPaper8216 says, I think it's pretty obvious that you need to find a therapist to discuss all of this with. And so does the sis, damn. When I read your comments, I was surprised because I just assumed the you was plural, because good God, do they both need it. My husband died 3 years ago. Grief is a monster. Unfortunately, we have to go through it. My concern is, in a way, you're replacing your wife with someone who looks just like her and has the same mannerisms. I believe it would be mentally healthy for you to have her move out. After you've had a reasonable amount of time to get as much grief out of you as you can revisit the relationship. I found grief counseling helpful. Grief is always there, but it changes. Quotes, in a way. She is so much like my wife that when I'm with her, I'm able to kind of forget what happened. Not in a way. More like exactly. There's zero chance this doesn't lead to incredible trauma for everyone down the road. Not gonna lie, this is pretty weird, man, and I think all this will accomplish is pissing everyone off. I can't imagine losing my spouse. I have no idea how that would impact me mentally, but I know that it would mess me up. I understand how this could cause someone to make all sorts of crazy decisions, but unfortunately, it seems like you're trying to fill the void with her sister, but it won't be the same. Life will never be the same. Eventually, you'll likely realize this, and it won't feel right. There is nothing wrong with moving on in due time. Everyone deserves partnership and happiness. However, ask yourself, is this really moving on? Or is this attempting to hold on to something that will never come back? Will this really help fill the void in your life? Or will it remind you of your wife every day and keep your heart shattered longer than is fair for anyone to experience? OP replies, you're right. I can't see this ending well. I've been acting emotionally instead of logically. I think I'll cut things off with her and see a therapist. I think it's also damaging to your wife's twin who is grieving. You aren't being with her to be with her, you're being with her as a sort of replacement for your wife. You're viewing her as your wife in some ways. This is not a healthy way of grieving. It will make it harder for you in the long run. You need to process what has happened. You both need to grieve in healthy ways. End it sooner rather than later, and don't blame yourselves for this happening, as people often act irrationally out of grief. Take some time apart from each other until it's okay to be back in each other's lives again. I'm so very sorry for your loss. Nah, he should blame himself a little bit, insofar as fully coming to terms with how disrespectful and not normal his behavior and decisions have been, yes, even when considering his grief. People grieve losing loved ones every day. They don't often start screwing their loved ones' closest family members. OP, I'm glad to hear that you're getting therapy. Take accountability for this and move on. Are you in love with her? Is she in love with you? All you mention is the sex. I think it would be way healthier if she moved out and you put the sex on hold. Both of you should be in individual therapy, not seeing each other unless other people are present. At the end of a year and a half, you could try to resume a more personal but still platonic relationship. At the end of 2 years, reassess, and probably no one would be shocked if you started dating her. If it's just sex, knock it off. You know better. OP replies, I'm afraid it may be love at this point. It's very intimate. You are not in love with her. You are in love with your wife who she reminds you of. Seriously, get a therapist. So why do you pretend like you're destroyed over the fact that you're despairing your wife's memory? If you think this is so intimate and almost love? Also, the fact that this started only a month after her passing, yet you're trying to paint it as grief effing you up? Lol, yeah, right. You are disgusting. Did you even love your wife? Because you're not acting like it. This is so sick to a whole new level. Your wife must be turning in her grave. Two of the most important people in her life are using her death as an excuse to do disgusting things in the name of her passing? You really never loved your wife if you're maybe in love with her sister, and her sister is more evil than anything, using your grief to justify sleeping with her sister's husband? You didn't even let her body get cold before you shagged her sister. Instead of focusing on the daughter your wife left behind, the last real part that you have of her, you were thinking about your needs. You're disgusting. Applause to everything here, and I want to add that this will undoubtedly F up your child who lost their mum. Please put a stop to this until you spend significant time in therapy processing your loss and the associated grief. I'm sorry you and your family are going through this, but this is not okay. Yeah, and the sister seems more in the weird/wrong here. I mean, you lose your spouse, which is huge. You lose the person that you talk to every day, you lose having someone to hug and cuddle, and you lose the sex. And on top of that, you're supposed to care for a young child? That's never going to be easy, and here's someone very similar acting and looking to your lost love, and your mind is a total mess, and that's a nice way to turn off the brain and just get comfort, so I see why he's into it. But the sister? Lost her sister, duh. So why was screwing the sister's husband especially comforting to her? Doesn't she have her own significant other? Her own friends? It seems weird to me that she didn't stay strong and not sleep with him, but I don't know her situation. I'm gonna tap out and say this is above my pay grade. I don't know. Obviously, trauma makes people work in mysterious and weird ways. This makes me want to crawl out of my skin, this one, and I do not like it. And now, onto the update. So I talked to my sister-in-law, which ended up in us in bed together once again. I don't think we can cut things off quite yet. It seems like the majority of criticism is about how this will affect my daughter, which is very understandable. We've just decided to take better care to keep our relationship private for as long as possible until we are ready to move on. In the comments, Send Me Shibari says, I feel bad for this person. I've lost people, and by God, if I had the chance to have a version of them back in my life, I'm not sure I wouldn't take it. Is this healthy? Definitely not. Is it understandable? Yeah. What tragic circumstances. I feel worse for the twin who deserves to be loved for herself and not as a weird replacement. More than enough sympathy to go around. Poor lady lost her twin. That's a bond stronger than normal sibling relationships. This whole situation is deeply sad. They're both trying to avoid the grief that they're feeling for the loss of their loved one, wife for OP, twin for the sister, and are absolutely compensating for the lost person in each other. Completely common response? Well, not the screwing your late wife's twin part, but also super unhealthy. The situation is messed up, but those really nasty reactions aren't fair. Grief F's you up, and it's very normal to seek comfort like this very quickly after a spouse's death. The only messed up bit is that he's treating the sister-in-law as a replacement for his wife, but even that's clearly from a place of suffering and pain, not a sign that he's a terrible person. I thought that I was going crazy reading those comments, because I was like, huh? I get that it's damaging, but it's hardly the most effed up thing ever. If someone you loved died and you had someone that looked exactly like them available, it's not a stretch to want to seek comfort in them. There's no empathy at all. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!